I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to The Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today, we're very pleased to be talking to Jee Vahn Knight, the new CEO of Baron Von Opperbean and the River of Time. So stay with us for a conversation with Jee. You're the new CEO as of October of this. So for people who don't know, give the quick 30-second thing, because it's very complicated, but what is Baron Von Opperbean and the River of Time?
So it is an immersive experience that is a immersive playground set within a cinematic storytelling universe. So if you think the ability to play and engage both mental games, physical games, climbing, elements like that, set within a cinematic universe. So think Star Wars or Marvel, where you have multiple characters, multiple storylines, multiple worlds to be able to explore.
That's very good. We'll talk about Meow Wolf, and some people maybe they've been to Santa Fe or Las Vegas, or maybe is it Meow Wolf any other places now? I can't remember. Those are the main ones.
They're in 5 locations right now, and they're opening 2 more.
2 more.
Santa Fe, Vegas, and Denver were their first 3. Okay. They've got Dallas, Grapevine, and Houston. Okay. And then they're slated to open in New York and LA. So
again, for some people listening, they're like, I'm still a little confused. And you can say this is a dumb analogy. Is it in some, and I've been to Meow Wolf. I've been to a couple of them, I think now. It's kind of like a really elaborate escape room without the escape. Without the game. Escape rooms are a game. But that sense that you're immersed, because when you're in Meow Wolf, you are immersed in this strange place. You're a little confused. You're not playing a game in the way an escape room is. So, I mean, the analogy falls apart. But it is just sort of you're in this experience and all these strange things are happening. And then after you can go get a beer. I mean, like that kind of experience.
If you don't mind, let's take a step back and just talk about the word immersive. The reason why it confuses everybody is because you're talking about an industry that's only 12 years old. Right. And it started with immersive theater, and then it moved into Meow Wolf is the undeniable success in the immersive industry, but it's an industry that's only about 10 years old. So it's still defining itself. So when you think about immersive, you have Meow Wolf, which was founded on being an immersive art gallery. So it is art and a world that was created that you explore and you consume that art. You also have immersive theater, which is putting you in the middle of the theater and the production. You have escape rooms. All of them are building worlds, so multiple senses, audio, visual, physical placement within this space. But what they're asking you to do or not do is a little bit different. Virtual reality is also a type of immersive experience, as well as like the Van Gogh experience and Team Lab, but that is primarily video projection. Or
a headset or something. This you're walking around, but keep going.
Yes. So Team Lab and the Van Gogh exhibit are wonderful because people go in, you have huge walls, you're seeing these paintings that are being projected on these huge scales. But it's still art. So once you consume it, you have consumed it. You may or may not feel the need to go back and create a new experience for yourself. So the particular intersection that BVO is doing is a cinematic universe. So think all of the characters, locations, people, cars, worlds, organizations, companies that you would have within a cinematic storytelling universe with an immersive playground. So we want to engage your ability to climb and crawl and find holes and basically, wear out all of your middle-aged knees because you're following your children through this space, with elements of mystery and gameplay. So
in that sense also, it's funny. You started saying that. It reminded me of like taking my kids to the Children's Museum, which I haven't been to in a long time. My kids are, in their 20s now. But that was pretty immersive as we would competitively like go through all these different like scenarios and so on. Yes. When you say with Baron Von Opperbean, this cinematic universe, it's not Marvel, right? It's not DC. Like it's a creation. It's Christopher Reyes, the artist, the local artist that people know or don't know, but that you should know. It's a universe of his creation.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
They shouldn't go in there expecting cinematic universes that they've seen in a movie theater.
No, they're not expected a branded experience. So Netflix is doing that right now. They're creating what's called the Netflix house, and it's an immersive experience. It's more of a pop-up and transient, though. It's not a permanent facility. That is a branded experience. They're trying to take an existing IP and brand and basically skin a nice little attraction, make some money, and then shut it down. Yeah. Different business model.
Okay. So y'all are down at Mud Island.
Yes.
Talk about how much it's the old river museum for people that ultimately shuttered. There's lots of questions about Mud Island and lots of space down there. You all have a portion of Mud Island. You have not taken over all of Mud Island.
Correct. We have the Old River Museum, which is the majority of that physical building, sans the Mahogany restaurant that opened 18 months ago that is doing well down there in this space. And there's a couple of other small buildings like concessions that were open in its heyday that there isn't a plan for those at the current time.
And you're not also in the big, I was going to say pool, but the pond that people can see.
That's still the actual park. So that is under Memphis River Parks.
So how long you give me the timeline of when this started and then where you're trying to go in this upcoming year.
I think if we like from the birth of the Big Bang, it probably started in Christopher's head in 2008 or something like that, because he was tracking alongside what the immersive industry was doing before it ever came to Memphis. He knew what was happening in the industry, just Memphis didn't have that particular industry here. But we took possession of the keys to the building in early 2024, and were able to secure kind of a first round of investment in the middle of 2025, which then really put us on a production schedule to be opening phase 1.
Okay. Phase 1 will include what?
Phase 1 is 8,000 square feet of the total 33,000 square feet experience.
8,000 square feet is a lot of space.
Yeah. So if anybody went to Quadrant 360 during 2020, that was 2,000 square feet. So this will be 4 times the size as the experience that was done at the end of 2020.
That was the one that was in, what's the space, right? That it was during COVID.
Yes. Off the wall.
Off the wall. Yes, off the wall. Kind of Midtown. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But keep going.
So 8,000 square feet, a permanent installation. It's meant to be here and live here permanently. That will then enable us to probably open another 10,000 square feet by the end of 2026. And then we have a pretty significant capital raise to be able to open the full river boats by the end of 2027.
And talk about that's aggressive though. Like I haven't caught up with you all in a bit. I mean, I think we had Christopher on this show, I know, and maybe we did a show. I'm looking at Marvin Stockwell, who's here, not on the microphone. Didn't we did a behind the headlines with some folks a year ago? Natalie confirmed that. Okay, so that's still a lot of space and a lot of progress. I can't remember, but for people who don't know, so we'll pretend I'm one of them because apparently I am. Is it a nonprofit, a public benefit corporation, a full LLC? I can't remember how does the whole structure work and the relationship to the city work?
Yeah, not a nonprofit. Okay. It's an LLC. So it is a private organization. It's a for-profit entity because in the attraction space, we're talking about economic development and creating economic capital for this industry here in the city. And you can't do that with the amount of leverage if you're a nonprofit. Also, there are not enough philanthropy dollars in this city to go around to all of the nonprofits that need it. This particular type of attraction does not need to be a nonprofit.
As someone who runs a nonprofit, I thank you.
Yeah.
we are only a nonprofit. You know, the Daily Memphian is only because it's just such a difficult business. But we do try to run it like a business, as we talk about all the time. But so you raise enough money to keep these stages going, and then there will be admission charges and concessions and so on. And like, that's the business model at the simplest level. Yeah.
The business model isn't new. It's one of the oldest industries. So you have tickets and admissions, which includes annual passes and group sales. You've got food and beverage. You've got merchandise. And then you have events, whether there are events or whether it's event rentals for the space.
How much staff? How many staff members?
How many staff members today?
Give me a sense where you are and where you're going with staff.
We fluctuate between 10 to 15 on site, depending on how many of the build crews are working at the same time.
Okay. And then once this 8,000 square feet when are you expecting that to be open? I'm sorry if you said
March 7th.
March 7th.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
That's like right around the corner. No. March 7th, you'll be open 7 days a week, 5 days a week. I mean, kind of give a sense of and what do people do? They go to a website, they buy tickets, they just show up.
Yeah.
Walk through those logistics for people for whom this is very new.
Absolutely. So BVOEXP.com is our homepage. You can go there. You can see any of the tickets that are available at /drops is where all of our pre-sale tickets are listed right now. We're in a time ticketing business. So you'll choose the day that you want to come, pick the time window that you want to be able to show up in. People are going into the exhibit every 30 minutes. They'll be pulsed in about every 10 minutes at a time, but you have a 30-minute window, to enter the exhibit. There isn't a time on when you have to leave. Some people will probably go through it and really enjoy it visually, and they might pop out in 45 minutes. You might have some deep divers who are like, nope, I want to discover every single element, and they're in there for a couple of hours. That type of flow we still have to determine because that really is the appetite of people to consume the creative for us to fully understand. To answer a question that every Memphian is going to want to know, there is a parking lot on Mud Island and a bridge for those who have not been there in a very, very long time.
Yes.
It is paid parking with the city, so you have to be prepared, as all the downtown parking is. And then when that lot is full, we still have the pedestrian bridge to the parking that's across the way on
what used
Front
to be
Street.
the monorail,
Yes.
although the monorail hasn't run in years, that bridge is
The
actually
bridge is
accessible
there.
to it. Okay.
Yes.
We'll talk much more about this with Jee Vahn. She is CEO, relatively new CEO for BVO, the Baron Von Opperbean and the River of Time down at Mud Island, aiming to open up March 7th. We'll talk more about that, the logistics, all that kind of stuff, how she got into this. But let me take a moment to remind everyone, I'm Eric Barnes. This is The Sidebar. It airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30, focused on the community, arts, everything in between. It's not just a radio show, though. It's one of many podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including our morning podcast, the AMDM, which has Mary Casciola, our editorial director, as well as Natalie Van Gundy, who's sitting next to me producing this, and a lot of our reporters giving news and updates every day, 5 days a week. We also have the Memphis Grizzlies podcast with Chris Harrington and Drew Hill, and our food podcast, Soundbites, with Holly Whitfield, which also airs here on WYXR every Thursday at 11, right before The Sidebar. All those are available at iTunes, Spotify, Daily Memphian, wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. We also produce the podcast version of Behind the Headlines, the TV show we produce with the folks at WKNO every week. That also is available as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get this show and Soundbites, the food show, at WYXR.org or the WYXR app. All of the WYXR shows are available there, talk and music, archives of all of them. If you're not a supporter of WYXR, do consider becoming one. It's nonprofit, listener-supported radio. So become a member, do a one-off donation. You can learn all about that at the site or on the app. And if you're not, I talked about being a nonprofit, but primarily the Daily Memphian is supported by paid subscriptions. That covers about half of what we do. And then advertising and events, another 30%. And then the last part is covered by paid donations. So we appreciate your support. Coming up soon on The Sidebar, Brantley Elsie, local artist whose exhibit goes to, I think, roughly the end of the month at Crosstown. It's pretty amazing. Everyone should go see it before it closes, but we'll get Brantley on next week. We also have the new head of Memphis Youth Symphony coming on in a couple of weeks. On Behind the Headlines this week, we know we've got State Senator Ramesh Akbari, as well as probably another guest. So that is all coming together as we ramp up in the new year. And also in a week or so, the outgoing Chief Public Defender, Phyllis Aluko, will come on and talk about her many years of experience as the Chief Public Defender. Recent shows are all available at WKNO.org or on Daily Memphian or YouTube. One about immigration, a couple of year-end roundups. You can get all those as you choose. Coming up on February 26th, the first of our business seminars for the year, Women in Business. That'll be at the Botanic Garden. It'll be hosted by Mary Casciola, who hosted it last year and did great. And so I'll be in attendance, not hosting that one. For me, Gina Neely is one of the panelists, and other panels will be announced in the coming weeks. But we are here with Jee Vahn Knight from BVO, the CEO of Baron Von Opperbean and the River of Time. Coming back, one thing I want to come back to. Let's go through the size, because I asked you the size of, you've got Mud Island River Park is what, 55 acres.
Yes.
You all had the whole museum part that you hope to expand into is
33,000 square feet.
33,000. That's the 8,000, then another 10,000, and then the lift. Talking about that, you talked about a big capital campaign. Can you talk about the round dollars to get all this done? And is capital campaign the right word? Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a raise.
A raise. Because campaign, to me, capital campaign implies nonprofit, but it's really a capital raise in the investment into the entity. Can you give me some round numbers of what the business spends and what the business needs to generate to be successful down there? Because it's and I say this in part, you're a private business, you don't have to tell me, but it's the city. The city still owns all that space, right? You all have a lease with it. So There's this vested civic interest in what's going on down there, I think is why I asked.
So in the attraction space, you need to be able to operate at 50% occupancy and profitable. So people who think that it needs to be at 90% occupancy, that's not actually what you need for the business to be successful. You need to average 50% occupancy, and that's why you've got seasonal highs and you've got seasonal lows. But we're looking at overall 50% occupancy of the space. But then you add on that events and merchandise and food and beverage, and that's what brings the business model up to a strong point. We're looking at, right now we're raising $1 million on a convertible note. We're over 50% of the way through that particular raise. And that is to fund us all the way through this March 7th date. So we're building while we are raising at the time. And those are for investors. So those that are looking at not nonprofit donations, but looking places to invest their dollars in businesses, that would be that type of contribution in that space. Different mindset for people when they're looking at investing in the city. Overall, phase 1 and phase 2 will probably bring us to about $3 million in total. So $1 million now and another $2 million to be able to bring all of our food and beverage, alcohol offerings to the table. The riverboats, for those that remember, that's the phase 3. And you're talking about a 3-story riverboat within a 5-story building that's going to be turned into a 3-story playground. Arguably, it is the biggest piece that we are going to undertake.
Sounds cheap to do. That should be get a weekend work. Come on.
Half of the money goes to the insurance company across the board.
Yeah.
That could range anywhere between about $10 to $20 million for us to complete that. About $500 per square feet to develop that. So that we don't have exact numbers on that right now because we are focused on bringing an experience to Mud Island and opening it and being a continuation of Quadrant 360. And that will then help us refocus everybody involved of, okay, this is what it can be. This is how people are enjoying it. Here's all of the opportunity.
Yeah.
How are we going forward?
And roughly, if you have how many people a day in the first month, you'll be happy. Like what are your numbers, your hopes, your expectations in terms of foot traffic into the and visitors into the experience?
Yeah, our early projections to be profitable for our investors are about 200,000 people a year.
Okay,
so it's not a huge number in terms of throughput. Bass Pro Shop gets 2 million visitors, local and local and tourists a year. Graceland is closer to 700,000 on it. So we're looking to carve out about 1.5% of the existing Memphis tourists that are coming here to be able to hit those numbers.
Yeah. And what do you? I mean, some of this is a guess, right? It's a startup. Mm-hmm. So, whatever you're looking at other comparables to the degree there are, but you're also kind of guessing. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way.
No.
Your percentage of tourists versus residents, how do you see that breaking out?
That one, there's a huge factor into the personality of the city.
Yeah.
So that one, every attraction has to tackle kind of out of the gate. A big part of it, though, is going to be the children of the city.
Yeah.
Because they are going to be the ones that help bring the skeptical parents out to kind of understand, to feel like it is safe to come and park at Mud Island. It's a great experience. It's also safe to stay and do other elements. They're a huge part of the anchor in the first year, as well as field trips and other events and pieces. But in this space, you're still looking at about 70% is going to come from the tourism industry and 30% is going to come from local.
Interesting. Tourism could include Arkansas, Missouri, day trips, Nashville.
Day trips,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
5 million
it's
people.
not just European tourists coming for Graceland. I mean, in the grand scheme of things.
5 million people in the Mid-South.
Yeah. You talked about the kids in field trips. Are you going to try to do kids, the schools and so on? Outreach to them?
Yes,
of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The same way they go to the other, the zoo, the other places all around town.
And for us, it's about creative industry. So it's not just about, you mentioned this podcast is about arts and cultures. There's arts and cultures. And for us, it's about creative industry. So that includes also creative technologists that are doing digital work, that are doing audio work, that are doing 3D and animation, and that don't know that these are jobs in the space, partly because the industry isn't here. So bringing them is not just, come for a field trip and go into the experience and have fun. It's also what workshops and classes we can provide for them that help give them a doorway into these other professional paths that can spark something for them.
It's a little like correct me if I'm wrong, but Sax Music Academy, Soulsville, they've had programs around getting people into the business of music.
Yes.
They're going to have a partnership with, Satellite Music Hall, the new venue at Crosstown, where I say kids, some of them are older, young, whatever, but the kids will be there working, apprenticing. It's really, and the new, arts middle school, high school that Katie Smythe is trying to launch, who started New Ballet Memphis. That's a huge part of what she's trying to do. I mean, they are a long ways from even opening, but it's interesting, that same theme of trying to create these professions that a lot of kids probably come out of school thinking, I love music, but I can't do anything with that, right? Or how do I get into some of these performance things as a profession in a way that they don't necessarily see in Memphis, in a lot of cities.
And then also how do they create the business that they want to see? Yeah. Because that's ultimately what brings economic capital, and it keeps it rooted in Memphis versus it being part of a profit share that goes to somebody else who doesn't even live here. Yeah.
Switch gears. We're going to circle back to BVO, but when did you moved here? We were talking before, and Jeff Calkins did a really nice profile that you were nice to talk to him about of you. But you moved here in February of 2020. I cannot remember what was going on in February of 2020. It seems very normal, just a very forgettable month in the history of the world. But it was COVID.
Yes.
Welcome to Memphis.
Yes.
Please lock down. What was that like?
I was living in a studio apartment on Main Street. And so here's the interesting thing, because everyone's like, oh, what was it like? And then kind of the typical narrative of, oh, you're in the new city. Do you feel safe? And I'm like, I live in downtown Memphis, and it's beautiful and it's clean. Now, granted, there's nobody outside and there's nobody, but the few residents that you had in downtown were out and they were jogging and they were doing their things. And as stores started to open up, you could go down there. So when I would get the question of like, do you feel safe? And I was like, I don't know what there's not to feel safe about. Now, granted, if you leave like an expensive computer sitting in the front seat of your car, you still live in a city, but that's everywhere. I said, don't leave an expensive computer in the front seat of your car for that particular thing. So it was a really interesting time to be introduced to Memphis because I came from the desert, so the river was beautiful. Yeah. The Main Street was beautiful to me. And then my kids they actually had to stay in New Mexico for a year and a half. They joined me at the end of August. So I moved them from rural New Mexico to an apartment in downtown Memphis. Yeah. They were like, holy cow, we can walk to things. We have this. Yeah. No frame of reference of what downtown Memphis was in the past. To me, it was a nice, beautiful place for us to stay. Yeah. And eventually, now we're out in Germantown because we're boring. But
it's all right. I mean, you got kids.
Yeah.
But before, you didn't come here for COVID. I sort of made it sound like, oh, you came here and COVID happened.
I know.
What first brought you to Memphis?
So in order to understand what brought us to Memphis, you have to understand that my family was never going to stay in New Mexico forever. When we moved there, we thought it would be like a 10 to 15 year place. Santa Fe is known as the land of enchantment, but if you're a local, they call it the land of entrapment because you think you're going to stay there for 5 years and then you stay there for 40. So we were there for about 17 years, but we had a short list of cities that we wanted to move to or that we were willing to move to. And my husband is a musician. So I promised him, when we moved from New Mexico, we would pick a music city, that we would not go to another rural area that only had mariachi music. We would pick a music city. And we visited Memphis.
That's an easy promise. Part of that's an easy promise to fulfill. That a place that only has mariachi music, you can knock that out, you know?
Yeah, easy checkbox. Yeah. But we visited in 2018, and the music that kind of he identifies the most is blues. Yeah. And so I got to see a different side of him. We were just walking around the city, and the history was coming out of the ground, and we went down into Mississippi along the Blues Trail, and we put Memphis on the list. Now, Denver was on the list, and Chicago was on the list, and Los Angeles was on the list, and it was about 2 or 3 years before an opportunity popped up that felt like the right fit, that would support moving a family of 5 across the country, that felt like a city that we wanted to be a part of, that was on a exciting economic development trajectory. Yeah. And so I joined a marketing agency here in the business development role.
I gotcha.
To head up their national expansion across the country. And 3 weeks later, we had no national expansion happening.
Yeah, I mean, that whole time was crazy. So starting, you have some experience. Did you work at Meow Wolf or do contract work with them or something? Okay, all right. Again, how is this different? How is this the same? Like, I know we kind of circled through that at the beginning, but not all these places are the same. But Meow Wolf, let me put it this way. In looking back, Meow Wolf was successful. Why?
Meow Wolf was successful because 90% of a human being's life is predictable. You know what's going to happen when you pull up to a stoplight. You know what's going to happen when you get in the car. You know what's going to happen when you walk into a store. And you walked into a space that was the antithesis of predictable. It used to be a bowling alley. You walk in, there's a 2-story Victorian-style home inside, which you don't expect. There's a bus that's upside down. There are fireplaces that you can walk through. There are closets you can disappear into. You can slide through the dryer. You can walk through the refrigerator. So it confounded your daily training as a human being of things that are predictable. And that creates wonder and joy and delight. It also highlighted that in this entire entertainment desert, which is the state of New Mexico, that there are people there, even though it doesn't have huge numbers and density, there are still people and families growing up and living there that want that creativity and entertainment. And then it sparked off, a perfect storm from a tourism perspective and completely changed the tourism market for the state of New Mexico. It became the number 1 attraction for the entire state of New Mexico within a year, eclipsing Carlsbad Caverns and Roswell. That's amazing. The Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. So when I sit here in Memphis, everyone's like, what does New Mexico and Memphis have in common? I'm like, we're here. Yeah. We're 5 hours away from St. Louis. We're 3 hours away from Nashville. We're 3 hours away from Little Rock. Yeah. Jackson below. It is also, you think of all the people that live here that want to be inspired, that want something that is going to take them out of their day to day. Now, what can do that? It can be a football game. It can be a basketball game. It can be going to Graceland if, you have an affinity there. It can be kayaking on the river. The what is why there's so many entertainment and sports entertainment opportunities in the world, or retail entertainment, which is what the Bass Pro Shops is. So the numbers really support a all ages entertainment attraction here in Memphis. Now, how you get it done, I think has probably been the question for the last 10 to 15 years. Yeah.
As we kind of wind things down here, just some more logistics. Again, say the website again.
BVOEXP.com.
Okay. And people can start looking at getting tickets now or just
get on? They can get tickets right now.
It will stay open. Will it open and close in phases as you're doing these expansions? Or is it open and staying open and then the expansions will happen behind the curtain and then that will be revealed?
There might be some sections that close down, but once we're open, we will be open.
Open. And the second, tell me again, the second phase you're hoping a year from now.
We're hoping end of 2026. Oh, which we're in 2026. Yeah, we're hoping the end of this year.
Okay. So, one more good question, because I forget about this stuff because my kids are, if we do something like this, we're drinking rosé and eating good food. So, because they're in their 20s. How young, how old, especially with the kids and families, what are the kind of target areas for this?
Yeah, so it is all ages. If you come and you're open to the experience, it is all ages. I will say that the space is not big enough to accommodate strollers or large backpacks. So you're thinking ideally is children that are above toddler age, because toddlers will still enjoy it, but they won't be able to climb on all the elements. They won't be able to reach all of the pieces. You'll be more carrying them. So you're talking 5 years old and up.
Yeah. Is it scary? It's a kid question, Yeah. I mean, I don't think about this stuff anymore. But
it's not a horror or a jump scare type element. There are areas that are darker with personalities, but it's not designed to scare individuals. Now, you can pop your head in places and people can disappear in places, and that might be scary. So we have contingencies of, at the City Museum, you go down that direction, then, we have to retrieve you if you don't make your way back up.
City Museum's a great, I think I've used that example before. That's a great analogy. For
it people can feel scary, but it's not built
it's
to be
fun
scary.
And it's made to be safe, right? Mm-hmm. Your kid's not going to wander out in the street if you lose sight of them for a second, that kind of thing. So City Museum, I meant to bring that one up too for people. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it, and good luck as we move towards the opening. Jee Vahn Knight is the CEO of Baron Von Opperbean and the River of Time, BVO. You can go to the website to learn more. But that is all the time we have this week. If you missed any of the episode, you can go to WYXR, the Daily Memphin, or wherever you get your podcast to get the full episode. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.